history's hazy, like driving in the pouring rain. Are we in too deep to heal? You tell me that you're sorry, we'll make up tomorrow. Tell me everything you know I wanna hear. I'm trying to be open, but that window is closing. And either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here. Before we're leaving here.
I know it ain't easy, but there's something left to hold on to. We can work it through, you don't have to go. There's a future here with me. We'll find the light in a clouded room. Not giving up until you know.
You tell me that you're sorry, we'll make up tomorrow. Tell me everything you know I wanna hear. I'm trying to be open, but that window is closing. And either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here. Either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here.
And shalom, everyone. Shalom. I want to welcome everyone to the house of the Lost Sheep of Israel. I'm Elder Michael Johnson, the pastor over here with the Lost Sheep of Israel and with King James Bible University. And just watching as people was signing in. And I'm going to tell you, it's got one person who's signing in with a screen name is Dust of the Ground. And I'm going to tell you, that caught my attention with all fullness. And I'm talking about that is a cold sign-in name, boy. I'm talking about that is a serious sign-in name. And I was just sitting there like, man, that's deep. I had to tell my wife that when I said Dust of the Ground, and that's 100% of what we are. So I'm going to tell you, that's a cold-blooded name. But we want to just welcome everyone here, and as we're getting ready to get started, and we just have a couple of announcements we want to make sure we make. And same as we're getting ready to do a baptism up in Savannah. And the same thing is it's going to be going on in the 8th of next month. But same thing as we've been saying, if you're making like travel arrangements, still you can continually do that as you sign and register with us. Don't register, do not register, then just figure you'll show up. But make sure that you register, but then you can make your travel arrangement. And right now we're still trying to finish out the negotiation with the hotel and room accommodations. So don't do those. Don't do your reservations for a hotel or room reservation, because if you do, and it's a different hotel than what we already have selected, you can have serious issues in trying to be baptized at that location. So that's why we're asking each and every person, if you're making flight, train, car, or any other type of transportation there, that's fine. But the main thing is we just want you to hold up until we send out the hotel information to where you can register there based on the negotiations we get to where everything can be lower. But other than that, we should be pretty good. And the same as we told people before, if things that you have not worked out with us, make sure that those are clear before moving forward with your arrangements. And back looking at this here, we always been going through, and we've been going through different places, and we walking through. So sometimes we have to get some more intel to understand what we need to do as a people. And this is one of them. Because we're getting ready to go into another place, and we're going to be going there next week. And as we're going through there, you need intel to understand exactly what's going on. Because the deeper we go into the wilderness, the more complex they become. And we're going into the next one is Pergamos, but the closer we get in there, the stronger they become. And we don't want to get people left behind, because we already have to go back and get some of them out based on these other teachings that's in between here. And just letting you see this, and we want to understand how to really serve people with the word and what's going on. And this one here is called, real interesting, because it's telling you about our days are numbered. Now, I want to make sure everybody understand this. And I'm not going to put a poll up, because it shouldn't be nothing to fear and nothing to not fear. But we want to just understand, what do you know, and this will help you to understand what's going on. But then also, as we're going through these places, it'll help you to show someone. So I'm going to ask the question, and I'm going to ask each and every person, and I'm not going to put a poll up, because it's not a right or wrong answer in either way. It's just based on what you feel at that time. So the question is this, and the main thing is, don't lie to yourself by posting something that you really don't believe. Posting it thinking it's kosher to do it. And the main question is, are you afraid of death? And that's a yes or no. Are you afraid of death? That's a yes or no. And I'm going to explain to you why in a second. And I just would just a yes or no. Some people, but same thing, some people going to lie. I already know they're going to lie, and that's what I don't get. But if you do, and some people, and they put in there, we're getting a lot of no's in here, which is good if it's true. And we have some people saying yes. So I figured we're going to get a mixed thing. I figured that was going to come out mixed. And actually, it's getting pretty mixed as we're going through it. And we see a lot of people putting in a lot of yeses. We see a lot of no's. We see some yeses, no's. And that's understandable. The reason why and what we want to help people really to understand is this. And to help each and every one of us to get this. So this is why we have to understand the days are numbered. And the main people who have yes there, and just to help you out a little bit as we're going to go through here, what we have to remember is this, and I get where you're coming from. I completely understand where you're coming from. Just as I said, it's no right or wrong answer here, because when you don't know when you don't know what you don't know, or it's unknown to you, it's a fear to you. So I get it. So don't never sit there and beat yourself up based on knowing that. Because if you don't know, then you would sit there and it's a fear there, because you fear what's going on. If it's the other way around, and you clearly know that It's a time to where we are going to die, and it has to happen. Because no matter what, you was born to die. It's going to happen. This is the one that we looking at. And if that's we know is true, then we should not, once we actually know what's happening, we shouldn't have to worry about what is going to be going down. Because death is going to come. But we need to educate ourselves on that to where we can understand once that occurs, it should be no fear of there. Because if we know clearly what's going to happen, and we know it's going to be one death going to happen, we're going to have a first death. The first death is the death of the flesh. We can't beat that. We can't go around it. And we see it happening every day. We see it happen to our loved ones, our friends, other people. We see it happening all the time. And with that happening all the time, it's showing you that death is real. The problem that we can encounter is based on how we live this first life. Because it's going to judge based on, are you going to gain the second one? That's the thing. That's the based on the thing. But now with that, if we continue and we do the things that is right, you sealing yourselves for another life, not death. And this is the reason why it's so important. So I'm glad that everybody's sitting there, they putting in and they just being pretty much honest on what's going on. But there's no, as I said, there's no right or wrong answer here, because death is real. You'll see some of the closest people to you that will tell you right up front, they fear death. You have some people sit there and say they don't fear death because they're comfortable based on the faith that they have in Christ and just knowing it's something afterwards. Even people who is well learned in scripture and like that, some of those can even fear death. But it always comes to the time. It's the same as, look at me, for example. I have, when I got to go get my checkups and everything, and they like to take some blood. And I'm going to tell you right up front, I fear needles. And there's no secret about it. People know about it. And I go in there, and sometimes some of the same people will see me, and they already know it's almost an experience for them for when I come in there, to where they know they got to do this needle, because I have a serious problem with needles. The same thing is, I know they're going to do it, but I still have a fear, because people tell me, and they tell you a little part about that. Because some people are going to say they don't, or some people are going to say, man, this guy really got a real problem. Because my thing is, you can actually hear the needle breaking the skin and screeching going in. That's me. I don't know what it is, or that fear is just so high in that needle just bothers me. So that's one of the reasons I have a big fear of needles. I don't care for needles at all. So that's one of the things. Even though I know once I go there, that is going to happen. The same as this here. Now, do I fear death? No, I don't fear death. I already know that's going to occur. And with that, I'm fully educated based on scripture, and I know this is going to happen, but it's the second one that's going to come, because you're going to be resurrected again. You got two resurrections. The first resurrection, you're already in. We're in the first resurrection right now. This resurrection, we can make a choice to either to do right or to do wrong. We can make clearly that choice. Now, the second resurrection, you don't have that kind of power. Then you're going to be judged out of things that you have done, which, if you are doing them according to the flesh, you already know what the outcome of that is. So with that, we know what's going on here. Our days are numbered. Our days are numbered. And what I want to do is we're going to start looking at this, and hopefully we can change a lot of people understanding on this here because this is the same thing we have to teach other people as we going through these 7 churches. Because some people are going to have this big fear. And the best fear is to have, if you already have it, even have it currently, and then you learn from even a lot of this here to where it can subside some of your fears, and you can help out a lot of people. But what we're going to do, we're going to start somewhere. I'm going to take you over here to Genesis. We're going to start there, and we're going to get a pretty good understanding right there. And we're going to be talking about some things. We're going to be going through some spiritual parts of it, but we're going to understand what's happening. We see here, it says in Genesis chapter 5, verse 28. We want to look at this. We want to look at this real close, because it says, and Lamech lived 180, including 2 years, and begot a son. This parable here is really unique, and this is why we want to focus there as we move down. Because Lamech, who was Methuselah's son, and he lived for 180 years. So what's the difference between what we're talking about? Because it's a difference between 2 generations. We have 2 generations that's going on. So Lamech, we want to understand what this is talking about. And I want to make sure you write this down. Make sure Lamech is known as a mighty destroyer of lanterns. A mighty destroyer of lanterns and lamps. So you can use either one. It can be a mighty destroyer of lanterns. It could be a mighty destroyer of lamps. The second one that what I want you to make sure you still understand under Lamech. Sometimes you'll see where it's pushing and it telling you one who overthrows. So this is giving you a pretty good understanding on what he's telling you about Lamech. That's why it's telling you in Lamech, in this mighty destroyer of lamps and lanterns, is what it's doing. This is why this is there. And we want to understand how this goes. But we got to remember what he's telling us what's going on. This is your key to what will help us out on all things. Because he had another son. This other son, to which we're going to get into, we're going to speak on. We don't have to go into another verse. Because it's telling you he begot a son. But that son was called Noah. And I want you to understand what Noah is. Because Noah has these other meanings, which is Noah, he will comfort us, but it also goes as he comfort. He comforts. You can also see him as rest. So you see these things there. Making sure that we understand what's going on. So we had this mighty destroyer, but he had one to where he will comfort us. Because of what he did, and understand this better, which is our days are numbered to start with. This is what we got to remember. Understanding these things, we continue to move forward on all what's going on. Now, we're going to look at some things, and we want to understand what's happening here. So, when we look at this, the Met, who's known as this mighty destroyer, and the one who overthrows, he lived 100. What we want to understand is 100. This 100 is telling you about he divided and balanced. So he lived this 100, divided and balanced. And what we got to keep in mind is the same thing as we continually moving forward. And this was even once said even by Job. And we're going to see something in Job chapter 14, but we're going to pick this up at verse 4. We're going to come here, and I'm going to show you some things right here. It says, who can bring a clean thing of an unclean, out of unclean? Not one. So who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one. I want you to keep this in mind, because most people think that you can be unclean in birth clean. You're not making sense when you do this, because if it was already deemed clean, then you can either do unrighteous and not righteous. But if he already deemed it clean, It can't be deemed unclean. We're going to see something in this in 1 second. Because we're going to see from the beginning that it's not one. But look at verse 5, and then we're going to look at something. It says, seeing his days are determined. So these days are determined, the number of the months with thee thou hast appointed his bounds, that he cannot pass. Exactly what we trying to get understanding on. The reason why is this. We're going to hit here in Acts chapter 10, verse 13. We're going to blend all of this together to get a better understanding. It said, now this voice, what happened with Peter, this voice came down and it had a sheet that was let down in this appearance of a sheet of this vision that he seen. And he told him, Peter, rise, kill, and eat. And Peter said, not so, Lord. He have never eaten anything that was common or unclean. Keep that in mind when we hit verse 15. The voice spake again a second time. What God hath cleansed, call not thou common. Takes you back to over here. Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one. Not one. This is one of the reasons why flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. That's the point we got to remember. What's in you is clean. What that spirit comes in you is clean. And we want to keep all this understanding there. So cleanse, and we know common, and even common is unclean. But we want to understand what that is. And we want to understand more so what this spirit is that goes in you. This spirit is knowledge and wisdom and understanding. And it's in his word, and it's just like the wind or the breath. So the Father of those things that comes out of you, that dwells inside the Creator in them, the same as one can speak unrighteous. The same as one can speak unrighteousness. Just think about that. Let's look at something. John chapter 8, but we want to take this at verse 44. We want to look at this whole verse right here. It says, when you're doing things like this, I want you to pay real close attention. So when you even speaking things like this and doing things like that, understand what you're doing. Because if you just speaking them, he says, ye are of your father the devil. The lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. He is a liar, and he's the father of it. I want you to think about that. The reason why, because you can speak life and death. It comes out of the tongue. And what we want to know is speaking from our own knowledge and from our own first, and it first came, and it came from the devil. The devil is the creator of lies, the creator that which speaketh. And if you speaking of lies and you're speaking of evil, you're speaking of these things, you serving this one that's right here. You serving the devil. I don't care how we look at it, how we flip it, how we script it out. That's the one you're serving. And when you speak, you're speaking from the spirit that resides in you. We have to remember some things, even what JEHOVAH said. He says, either you believe that he was in the Father and the Father in him, or you can believe the word by these actions that he was doing, which was not of the devil. But it was the Father, it was the Creator which is in heaven that was in him. This is what we got to keep in mind. Don't ever forget that. That's why it always goes back to right here. Job chapter 14, verse 5. It says, seeing his days are determined, they're numbered in his months, are with thee, and they're appointed in his bounds and cannot pass. So what we want to understand is what that's saying. We want to understand that. We're going to tear that down a little bit. So same thing here. Put the days. So of our days is of obedience, or determined. So of obedience or determined. Our days, his obedience are determined. That's what he's telling you. These numbers is the substance. The number is the substance. You got to keep that in mind. The months goes into the new moon. So now his new moons are with thee, because God appointed in his bounds. So those bounds is the is the vow to help. We got to keep that in. And the main thing is, which he cannot pass. You cannot finish, you cannot complete. You cannot get past these things. You're stuck. Let's look at something. We're going to get a better understanding now as we come into these pieces here. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, why would we talk like this and make sure we understand what is happening is this. It can't change from what God created. We're going to find out why what's going on. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, it says, so God created man in his own image. In the image God created he him. Full thought, male and female created he them. You see how this works here? But it gets a little bit better. I want to pull this part because I want you to see this side by side. In Genesis chapter 2, in verse 7, I want you to see this side by side. We see this here. It says, in the spirit of God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Why am I saying this here? Because when you look at this in this fullness, where you see this semicolon here, I want you to do something for me. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, it says, so God created man in his own image. In the image God created he him. Right there, stop. Go over here to Genesis chapter 2, verse 6. And the Spirit of God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul. So man, M-A-N, became a living soul. Male, including female, created he them. That's how this actually goes. That's what's actually going on. So we want to keep that in mind as we move forward and make sure that we don't mess up scripture, but keep everything tightly locked down to where we can actually make sure that we're not trying to add or take away from scripture. All we can do is give clarity. And we got to keep in mind that God, he created heaven and earth. We got to keep that in mind. He created heaven and earth. So he spoke it, and the word did it. So Yahweh spoke, and Jehovah did it. Yahweh spoke, Jehovah did it. Christ. So we got to keep that in mind. Christ, we got to understand, created heaven and earth. And we got to understand that these things have both of these places have ordinances. So I want you to keep this down and make sure you write this down. Making sure that we keep down ordinances, which is the instructions, the rule, and orders. I have a few more, but these are the main ones I want to make sure you follow. Don't break them. Don't change them. And we follow them from the beginning. The same thing we're going to see in Genesis all the time. These is based on ordinances that cannot be changed. From the beginning. Even as with our bodies, even from birth until the end. So we start as babies and we progress over time and age in which we can see. This is still an ordinance of men being tried through since the beginning of time. We're going to go through this same stage. You're not going to be born old and get middle-aged, then get young, then become a baby. That's not the truth. You got an ordinance you got to follow. You're born, you're a baby, you become a child, you become a teenager, you become a man, you become old. That's the ordinance and what we have to follow. We got to keep these in mind also. So I'm going to tell you about a guy to show you how what we did and what we screwed up and what we end up following as Paul even tells us. Actually, I'm going to put this up. I just want to put this up to show you something. Because Paul said this, but I want to make sure we understand it. Paul in chapter 12, verse 2. Paul said this, and I'm going to show you why he's saying this. It says, know ye were Gentiles carried away unto dumb idols, even as ye were led. We don't understand why that was said. Why was this said to us this way? It's not saying we were Gentiles as being Gentiles. No, that's not the truth. He's saying we was using Gentile mindsets on what they was doing. And we want to find out why. And one of the main ones, we see a lot of people go there and they talk about it. But we want to understand the functioning of his words. And then once we understand even the function of this guy's name, you're going to find out what he did and how he did it and how we fell to it. I wanted you to introduce you to a guy. We're going to look at this. And then we're going to start really digging into it. And I'm going to take you over here to First Maccabees. We're going to go to First Maccabees. We're going to go to chapter 1. But we want to pick this up at verse 41. Because I want to introduce you to this guy. Everybody know him on one thing, but we want to know exactly what this guy is all about. This guy's name is Antiochus. He's also known as Epiphanes. But this guy's name is Antiochus. Antiochus, I want you to know and understand right up front, this is a Greek. This is a guy's name is a Greek. And his name is telling you about his ways and more. But we want to read what's going on here to understand what's happening. And it says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that they should be one people. We want to understand this. Because the reason why I want you to understand this, I want to put some things in place to make sure we can't go outside of what's already was determined from the beginning. In Deuteronomy, and we looking at the law that was written by Moses, he says, ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish from it, that ye may keep the commandment of the Spirit of your God, which I command you. I want you to keep that in mind. So we know we can't diminish, we can't add. We can't diminish, we cannot add. Because if we diminish anything, we're going to try to change, you're going to try to make revisions to a prophecy. You try to add to it, you're going to try to make revisions and add some things to a prophecy which you cannot do. We're going to get into why these days had to be numbered. And more so, I want to show you another part. We're going to look at this. Hopefully it don't mess up. We got to go into Genesis chapter 1. And we want to look at this right at verse 4. It's in right here. Right there. It's clear. It says, and God saw the light. God saw the light. He created this light, but he saw this light. And he's telling you that it was good. And God divided the light from darkness. This is what he did. But what is this issue? Why do we have these 4 verses all contentially together? We being Gentiles, carried away to dumb idols, because King Antiochus wrote to the whole kingdom that we should be one people. But we was warned that we should not add, we should not take away from the word. This is what we got to figure out. The ordinances, they're trying to change. So we need to know what Antiochus is. We need to know what his name means, because this is the important part. Antiochus means the oppressor. He's a withstander. So it means oppressor. So moreover, this king of oppressor, this king withstander, he wanted to revise the ordinances of God. One, he's telling you we should all be one people. So we already know he's rewriting what's going on. He want to rewrite what goes on. He's telling you right here. In fact, you can see that this oppressor, this withstander, he was literally being a servant of the ancient and honorable. He's literally been a servant of this. Let's look at some of this to understand a little bit more about him. And we're going to find out some things where we locking down things in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14, picking it up at verse 19. We're going to see some things that was actually spoken here. Then we're going to find out a little bit more. Because Antiochus is a unique guy. It says, and he peradventure willing to please one in authority. One in authority. He's in authority. The one is in authority. Is the one who can do the work. That's that spirit. So he forced all his skills and make the resemblance of the best fashion. That's what he did. So, and then with our forwardness and what he was doing, actually let me put this here because I want to make sure you want to know who the one in authority. Might as well make sure it's there. And in Isaiah chapter 9, just want to put this here because I want to make sure all the time we're all on the same page. We're all going to be on the same page. It says, the ancient and honorable, he is the head. The prophet that teaches lies is the tail. It's right here. Antiochus. was a prophet for him. But we got to see what's going on. And what he did, he forced all his skills. He's telling you right there on what he did and what he was doing. But we want to understand more so why he did this. That's what we want to understand. Because when you make an image, this visible appearance, this resemblance, this statue, this manifestation of a similitude of this figure to appear, and they wanted this to appear better than God. That's what they was doing here. Let's go back here and look at some of this. And it telling us more, it says, including so the multitude allured by the grace of the work took him now for a God. Allured. Allured is tempted, drawn. So by the work of this image, and we seeing what's going on. So by his grace, now we then took this for a God. But we seeing this as a person of authority sitting in the temple, and he's appearing himself as God's. Which a little before was honored, but they took him for God. Let's look at something now. We got to keep locking this down to make sure, because once we see why our days are numbered, people are going to always think it was done wrongly, but I'm showing you right now, this is 100% just on what's happening. The Bible tells us in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3, it tells us, it says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, Antiochus. He's there on the scene, he did it, and he was able to push what he did. More so, let's look at verse 4. Who opposes and exalts himself above all, that is called God. So he exalts himself above God. Or that is worship, so that he comparing himself as God, sitting in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Now we got a problem. Now we have a problem. Why is this problem there? I'm going to show you why. I want to sit there. I want to pull this one. We're going to find out one problem here. Let's go to one here. We're going to look at this in Micah chapter 3. And we're going to look at verse 11. This is one problem here. It says, the heads thereof judge for reward. What reward? Did not God said right up front, he said, I'm going to give you pastors according to my heart that will feed you with knowledge. I'm going to give you. Actually, I want to tell you what better yet. Better yet. He tells you this. I just want to make sure we stay all up front. We're going to look at 3:15. I want to keep all this, everything above board to show why our days are actually numbered. And he tells us this in Jeremiah chapter 3, picking up at verse 15. It says, and I will give you pastors according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. However, when we go back to Micah, the heads thereof judge for reward. Well, okay, what reward? What reward? Because we agreed upon a penny. But you see even more so, it says in the priests, these ones supposed to be the intermediaries between man and God, they teach for hire. The prophets thereof divine for money. Yet, anyway, otherwise, they lean upon the Spirit of God and say, is not the Spirit of God among us? Hell no. No. No evil can come upon us. I'm telling you, we can't get out our own way based on this. They have exalted themselves and then get you to do these things. So the main thing is now, they need to put this lie into working. Because it's saying he's sitting in the temple of God. showing itself that he is God. Let's show you some of what they did. Showing you more so, we're going to see this even a little bit clearer. In Ezekiel chapter 16, we're going to go down to verse 23. Find out a little bit more. Find out a little bit more why this is against us. Why this is more against us than anything. In verse 23 it says, and it came to pass after all thy wickedness, woe, woe unto thee, said the Spirit of God. We can't get out our own way. That thou, that not him, that thou, not him, that thou, meaning us. We done built stuff based on what Antiochus had set up. We had built unto us, unto the eminent place, and has made thee a high place on every street. I don't even have to go into detail on this, and you know what it's talking about. I don't have to go into no detail to understand what this is actually talking about. In fact, let's put some more here. I'm gonna put some more here. We're gonna go to Psalms. I want to show you something because they built this place, and they built them on every street, every corner. And when you look at Psalms chapter 74, picking it up at verse 7, it's telling us a little bit more. They, who, them, they had cast fire unto thy sanctuary, and have defiled by casting down the dwelling place of the way to the ground. I'm just pausing just for you to clearly, for this all to sink in. For all this just to sink in. In fact, to make sure you worship there, this is what they did. They said in their heart, let us destroy them together. They have burnt up all the synagogues, all the gathering places of God in the land. And then they built this high place unto them to where you can go in there and they can teach for hire, divine for money. They can do these things. Now they can do these things. You're stuck. You're stuck. And people still sit there, well, we still got to go to the church. Yeah, you go to the building because they built those. They have set this up. This way they figure you will serve this one master. But you serving a creature and not the creator. So this is complete deception. Complete deception that's hitting you. We have these things that people don't want to believe this 100%. But as they don't believe things, they always think that they know better than what's doing. And this is why more so when we get down into it, we're going to find out why we do this. Because we got to find out this was the best opportunity for them. The best opportunity for them, for people to serve man one or two ways. So now you're not going to serve God, but we're going to make you serve man one or two ways as a God. And he's telling you right here. And this was the occasion to deceive the world. And let us destroy them all together and burn up all the synagogues of God in the land. And this was the occasion. It's telling you right over here. You see, we're not changing anything. They said, in their own hearts, let us destroy them together. They have burnt up all the synagogues of God in the land. One. And this was the occasion to deceive the world. The heads thereof judge for reward. The priests teach for hire. The prophets dividing for money. They say, yet is not the Lord among us? And these men going to have you serving either calamity or trinity, as ascribed unto stones and stocks and the incommunicable name. Think about that. Think about that. You're going to serve one of those two ways. This was a chance to deceive the world, and you're going to serve either one or the other way. Did not this work? Actually, I'm going to show you. Did it not work? Let's go here. Let's see, did it work or not? In Revelations, we're going to check something. In Revelations chapter 12, picking it up at verse 9, we're going to see something and make sure that we get all this clear. Revelation chapter 12, verse 9, it says, "And the great dragon would cast out that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the world, the whole world." So it did work. Many people will always say, "Oh no, I'm not deceived. I go in the Bible. I know how to read for myself." No, you was deceived. You were 100% deceived. Satan called it deceive the world. If you sat in any church, anything that was built, and they sitting there and they call that place a house of God, Christ, or anything, you was deceived. People, I wasn't deceived. Boo-boo, you was deceived. %. This is the problem that we have. Deceived the whole world, and he was cast out into the earth, where we are right now. And his messengers was cast out with him. That's why now he appears as the angel of light. And he's going to make you serve one or two ways, either by calamity or tranity. And just to make sure we understand what this calamity is what we serve by. A lot of people, because calamity is plagues, affliction, and distress. Do you want me to bring it a little bit closer? It can be COVID, cancer, strokes, heart attacks, high blood pressure. You're going to serve us one of these ways. When you come in there, we're going to tell you what you can do and how you can do this another way. Or we're going to do it by tranity. They do it by tranity, they can do it through oppressions, extortions, and burdens. Tell me they don't do it. You're going to serve them one or two ways. If you still want to sit there and you want to hide yourself out in this place, you're going to serve them one or two ways. And that tactic made them to ascribe to this incommunicable name. So you mean it can't be communicated, told or revealed in any other ways. In any other ways, it can't even be done. And the main thing is, with this incommutable name, wasn't this clear? Actually, let's go here. I want to show you something. Again, we have to go back here again. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. We got to go back here again and just look at what happened. Let's look at something right here. And God blessed them, and God gave wisdom to them, and God said, He gonna give it, He gonna break down the wisdom to us. But these are ordinances on what God wants us to run, because He already set it up. And God blessed them and said, be fruitful. Yeah, be fruitful. Including multiply. So you multiply this and replenish the earth and subdue it, including have dominion over fish of the sea, over fowl of the air, over everything that moveth upon the earth. I want you to think about that. The reason why is saying this, and He wants you to replenish the earth, including to subdue it, have dominion, all these things. We need to do something. So Antiochus and them see it in another way, and this is what happened with men. Meaning, they wanted to change the ordinances. These oppressors seek to change them. And what they did is things in a very unusual but usual way, to where they know they can do it. And this is why they got away with it. This is why they even get away with it today. We can see this in Daniel chapter 7, picking it up at verse 25. Tells us really, really, really clear. And we're going to see these here. And he shall speak great words against the Most High. Yeah, he think he's God. He think he's God. So what's the issue? He's already think he's God. And he said he should speak great words against the Most High, and he should wear out the saints of the Most High. How? through calamity or tranity. He's going to do it one of the two ways. One of the two ways. Including, think not to change times and laws. Interesting. He's going to change the ordinances himself. We all going to be one people. Okay. We all going to be one. Let's be one people. Let's be one people. He said, think not to change time and law. And they shall be given unto his hand, into his power, until the time and dividing of time. Now we got a problem. Why? Because a lot of us boo-boo going to go and follow that stuff. Because speaking contrary of the Spirit of God, these saints is going to be given in through calamity or tranity is what we've been talking about. And they even going to rip the... Actually, I'm going to tell you what. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go somewhere. Excuse me. We're going to look at First Maccabees. I want you to go to First Maccabees, and we're going to look at something. First Maccabees chapter 61. First Maccabees chapter 1, 61. And we're going to see, I want to show you something. We're going to see something on what they was doing. On what they were doing through this. It tells us right here in First Maccabees chapter 1, 61. It says, and they hang infants about their necks and raffled their houses and slew them that has circumcised them. So if these women circumcise these children, and they're going to make you serve one or the other way. Saying this right here. In fact, when you go back up, let's go up. Let's just go up a second, and we're going to see what's happening. In 141, 142, we're going to show you something. Remember, Antiochus is the one's talking this. Remember, he's the one's talking this stuff. Because you see more with King Antiochus. Everyone should leave his laws, so all the heathens agreed to the commandment of the king. He's the one doing this. So don't trip. Law, write this down again. Keep this always in your pocket again. What do law mean? Law mean cultures of language, spirited, covenant ways, truth, decrees. He's telling you. No, we ain't doing it. We ain't doing this no more. We're not doing that way no more. Let's do it this way. When you're over in this land, we do this. He wrote to his whole kingdom. We one people. Even in fact, when you look at that as a whole, even when you're in these lands, is everybody treated equally? No. You can go to anywhere else in the world, and you'll see people that is not of those people will be treated differently. Why? Because you're not one people. You're not one people. Keep that in mind. So, as they commit these acts and these abominations to him, and he already told us, don't have these other gods. He already told us this. Don't have no other gods before him. Ordinance. Don't do this. Telling us to remember the Sabbath days. Don't kill, commit no adulteries, bear false witness, or covet one's wife or manservant or maidservants. Those things are for unrighteous. Those have the ordinances there. In fact, we'll look at that there. I want to just show you that. Just make sure that we're still above board on all things. In 1 Timothy chapter 1, looking at verse 9, it's telling us right there. Just on what I'm saying, knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, and everyone should leave his. But for the lawless, the disobedient, the ungodly, for the sinner, the unholy, profane, for the murderers, the fathers, murderers, the mother, men, slayers, whoremongers, them that defile themselves with mankind, men, stealers, liars, perjured person, and if there be any other thing contrary to sound doctrine. Straightforward. Straightforward, right there. In all these things is happening, but what are we doing? Well, it shows you right here. 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 43. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, this practice. Many of us consented to this. In sacrifice unto idols. And profane the Sabbath. Oh, remember the Sabbath day? No. Every day's the Sabbath day for me. No, remember the Sabbath. No, the Sabbath day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You got a guy said that. And people will sit there clapping. Unreal. Unreal. And these are of religion. When you go into a building week after week, month after month, year after year, and you have certain things you sing about, certain things you do, all these things, that's a practice, that's a religion. That's not a lifestyle, that's a practice, that's a religion. You go to this meeting place, and then you giving them gifts, you giving money. Why? That became custom. Newly established covenants with idols. Actually, I'm going to tell you what, better yet, let's bring this a little bit closer. We'll find this in Romans chapter 1, verse 23. Romans 1:23. I want to find this here. And it says in the glory of God, they changed this and changed the glory of God, the glory of an uncorruptible God, into the image made like a corruptible man. Yeah, he's sitting in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. And we didn't change that to this corruptible man in birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Can't tell me we ain't did it, because if anybody sit there and lie to themselves, well, I don't never worship man, I just used to go there. You lying to yourself. And this is the only thing really kind of like a pet peeve of mine. Well, now, I went to church, but I wasn't worshiping no man. It's telling you in the Bible, when you was going there, that's what you was worshiping. I don't care how we look at this. Actually, I want to make sure everybody say this with their own mouth. If you went into a church, a building, as the Bible said, he's sitting in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So you was worshiping a man, period. Oh, what about you? Yeah, me too. I was worshiping a man. I could sit there. I wasn't worshiping. I was. Everybody get that. Everybody understand that. You put yes as I keep moving forward. Just understand what's going on. Anybody went in the building, anybody went in there, they can say, I don't worship no man. I went there. I just, okay, guess what? You was worshiping a man. Sitting in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. He built it for that. So when you come there, you know you're worshiping. But I promise you, you're going to have some people going to still say, no, I just went there. Okay, you went there, but you lying to yourself. This is why we have so much issues when we're dealing with things like this. Those are the practices that goes on. And he told us something that was really important. I want to show you that to make sure we see this. It's something really important. In Leviticus, and we see this in Leviticus chapter 11. Leviticus chapter 11, verse 44, saying this. I want to show you this, and really, really, really good what the Spirit of God said. He said, for I am the Spirit of your God. I want you to kill. I'm reading it real quick. I want you to make sure you get this. And he said, I am the Spirit of your God. Clarity, he's put the colon there. He's going to clarify. Ye shall, for that reason, I am the Spirit of your God. I want you to see the seriousness of what he's saying. So he said, for that reason, sanctify you, separate yourselves. And ye shall be separated, holy. For I am separated. He's holy. Neither shall you defile yourself with any manner of creeping things that creep upon the earth. These dudes that's building these dang buildings and all this stuff and doing all these other things that you should not be doing. That's what he's telling us. They telling you to fly right, don't fly right. They telling you to change that day of the Sabbath day, don't change that Sabbath day. They telling you to have multiple wives, don't go have multiple wives. He telling you all these crazy things. Hey, no, it's okay. I'm telling you, me and my wife sat in the place, and this preacher, I don't know if he had a tattoo or not. I'm not too for sure, because he always wore long sleeve shirts. So I'm not sure if he had a tattoo on him or not. But it was brought to his attention about tattoos. And that was brought to him. And he sat there and he said he'd be conscious. Now, even though it's sitting in Scripture, don't put no markings on yourself. He sit there and say, be conscious of what kind you put on there. Put a bird on there. He was selling it all kind of ways. But he didn't say don't do it. Why? Because people out there pays money to him. I tell you right up front, don't you put no marking on you. Don't put no tattoo on you. Don't do it, because it's 100% wrong. It's going against Scripture. But he's telling you don't do these things. But he says more in this as we look at it closer. And he said, now watch how he's telling us, he's going to repeat it because he's saying this twice. He says, I am the Spirit of God that bringeth you out of the land of Egypt, out of this place of this confusion, this place of bondage, to be your God. Ye shall, for that reason, just for that reason alone, be separated. He brought you out of there. Why in the world? If he bring you out of there, why are you going to run right back into trouble? You just got out of trouble. Why are you going to go back in trouble? He says, for that reason, be separated. He says, I'm separated. I don't get it. He don't get caught up in that kind of shadiness. So let's look at this. And same thing God did. Guess what? Antiochus can do the same thing. It says, for the king sent letters, same as he sent the gospel. He sent the message to us. He sent letters by messengers. Exactly, God did the same thing. He says, unto Jerusalem, unto us, and the cities of Judea. So this is where the land of the Jews, and it says that they should follow the strange laws of the land. Shut the front door. Now he can get these men. Now some already agreed to this religion. Some already agreed to this. So I want you to make sure we clearly getting all this together. Now we got to understand how this all working, how this all sees, how everybody's seeing this. So as God sent messengers to declare the things unto Israel, the king also sent letters to them by the hand of messengers to change the ordinances, the laws of God. You seeing the same thing going on. In fact, I'm telling you, we can't get out of this stuff. We stay mixed up with all this kind of just crap within the world. And you'll find something in Matthew chapter 13. And once you get there, I want you to go down to verse 25 and look at something. It's telling us something here. And I have you here for a reason. I want you to understand what goes on. He's telling us something that we really need to pay attention to. It says, but while men sleep, his enemy come and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. Yeah. God sowed, and then Satan sowed as we slept. Now, as this happened, will this change the ordinance of God? Will this change the ordinance of God? So you want to keep that in mind as you go through here. Will those things change the ordinances of God? You answer this for yourself, within yourself. And we're going to be finding out as we go down and once we see other things. As we see things that goes, we see what happens. And JEHOVAH is making sure you understand certain things. He answered and said certain things. It's not written in your law. that ye are gods. It's not as written in your law. People will go around and you might hear guys always talking about, hey, what's up, God? What's up, God? What's up, God? Hey, God. It's written in scriptures that you say you are gods, that he said you are gods. JEHOVAH himself, Jesus himself, is telling you, is it not written in your law, in your custom, your truth, your ways, that you are gods, that you call, that ye are gods? Let's look at something. Let's look at something. I want to show you, so because people crack me out because they're going to run to certain scripture, which the scripture that they want to run to, I'm going to anyway. We're going to see something in Psalms 82. Psalms 82, verse 6 and 7. I have said, ye are gods, and all ye are children of the Most High. See, that's where they're going to run. But it's stupid as day. Dumb as a rock. Because you're going to see something when he clears up for you. He said, but ye should die like men and fall like one of the princesses. Why is he saying this and making sure you clearly get what he's talking about? The reason why he's saying this, because you are not a god. In Psalms 97, in verse 7, he even makes it more here. Because he's telling you more so as he's getting into it. He says, confounded be all they that serve graven images. Exactly the point. And boast themselves of idols. Worship him, all ye gods. Everybody thinking themselves a god, you worshiping an idol. You worshiping yourselves. Do everybody understand what? It's the same thing. People, they'll play, certain sports. They'll do certain things. People, man, this dude's a god. You automatically made that person an idol. Automatically put that person as an idol. Automatic. And he's telling you this why it's going. But he said, is it not written that in your law, ye say you're gods? So now he says this over here in John chapter 10, verse 35. He says this. Watch what he says here, because it's kind of a crack up. It's kind of a crack up. He says, if. So he's saying providing he called them gods. So he's saying, providing JEHOVAH called you guys unto whom the word of God came, including the scriptures cannot be broken. Who in the hell called you a god? Who called you God? If he called them gods, these little knucklehead people that sat there that said, well, he called me a god. What did you do? I'm telling you, let me finish this up and get here. In verse 36, it says, say ye of him whom the Father hath sanctified, separated, and sent into the world, thou blasphemest. He done sent the word to tell your butt what's going on, and you blaspheme him because I said, I am the Son of God. So since he done put the word in this man, and this man coming telling you the truth, and then y'all want to sit there and blaspheme, but then you want to sit there and say that he's blaspheming because he says he's a servant of God. I don't get it. I don't get it. I try to get it, but I don't get it. And seeing, so it gets back to these ordinances where we got to get into this and we got to find out some things. The reason why it's so important to understand what we're doing, because scriptures cannot be broken. I want you to understand that. Write that down. Scriptures cannot be broken. And then you have these people is out there, and they are liars. They blaspheme because they cannot tell you one thing or the other. Meaning this, you having people who will sit there and tell you they are God's people. I want you to think about that. But he tells you, God also said you'll be a peculiar people. You'll be a peculiar people. You want to look different, walk different, talk different. Why is this getting there? Why is the days numbered? We gotta understand those all together. So you can see these things and you see these people who do this. And the same thing is people even think they can change the covenant with God. God said he don't change this. We got to find out that too. Which men cannot break covenants with God. Or just saying they can reside in the land and then they'll dress up in their appearance and then they'll be peculiar. They like to wear these patriots. Actually, I'm going to tell you what. I already got this cued. But I'm going to show you this. I want you to see something. I want you to really pay close attention. And then we're going to look at scripture to find out more so what I'm talking about. And you'll see this here. And you see those little buried braids on side, they call patriots. Or payots. They would call them two different names. And what they do, they have to look different. That's why they wear those hats. That's why they wear things. They want to look completely different. So when people see them, they'll see this person that looks just different. Just different. And that's not the truth. That's not the truth. So let's look at these, and we're going to go in some of these right here. You see how they go in? It's just not there. It is not there. And you see, they have to look different, even though they're Gentiles, but they have to look different so they can sit there and say there's something that they're not. Keep that in mind. But we got to look at scripture. We got to get all this worked out. This is what it's showing you now. This is showing you us. You see us. And once you see us, you can see right up front. We different. All we got to do is walk outside, and we different. All you got to do is walk on the street, and we different. But he said some things that was going to happen to us, which I'm going to show you as soon as we finish looking at some of this here. Just want to make sure you understand exactly what is going on. Because when you have a people, they just trying to appear different when you see them, and they want to put these things in there. And people, oh yeah, these are those people. No, they just trying to look like something people. But we need to understand what these people are. We need to understand what these people are. In saying this here, I want to show you something real close. How they deceive the world. How they deceive the world. I want to show you something here. We're going to go across the board on something. I want to show you something. Genesis chapter 9. Genesis chapter 9, verse 27. Show you something. And they can't deny it. They won't even deny it because they know you can't deny it. Because it's there and it's even in their books. It says, God shall enlarge. I want you to take that out, enlarge. Now, enlarge has two connotations. It can be deceive, persuade, or it can also mean increase. That's what's going to happen. We look at that connotation, making sure we understand what that's saying. So when it says God shall enlarge, it's not saying God going to increase Japhet. So we got to keep that in mind. It says God is going to persuade. He's going to deceive Japhet. And we're going to find out all the things why right now to show you why the days are numbered here regardless. Saying this, it says, and he shall dwell in the tents, meaning he's going to dwell in the land of Shem. And Canaan should be his servant. Now we finding out what's going on. Now we just seen a picture of something, but we want to understand why I was showing you the picture. I show you things sometime ahead of time to where you can kind of get a precursor on what's happening. And then once I get to it, you pretty much know what I'm talking about. In Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 43. Remember the picture of the kid. Remember the picture of the kid. Actually, I'm going to show you the picture of the kid again. I'm going to show you the picture of the kid again. I want you to see the picture of the kid again. So you see the picture of this kid again. This is what you see. That's what you see. And the reason I want you to keep that in mind about the picture of this kid, because he says something to us in Deuteronomy. In Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 43. It says, the stranger that is within thee shall get up very high, should get above thee very high, including thou shalt become very low. Exactly the point. This is why I don't care where you go in the world. You see us, people who look like us, we will always be in the lowest position. Because we disobeyed some things of God. We became one people with a people that is not our people. And he's telling us right here. But I want to make sure that you understand everything as we go through this. And even in Psalms chapter 79, he's making sure something else is clear. Psalm 79 verse 8. He tells us, "O remember not against us former iniquities. Let thy tender mercy speedily prevent us, for we are brought very low." Why? Because he already had prophesied that in Deuteronomy. He prophesied that to Deuteronomy. He did this for a reason. And the main reason this was happening, the main reason this happened, the main reason we going through this issue, and it's not an issue with people, it's an issue that we have with God. Let me show you what the issue is. And I showed this issue before, but let's look at the issue, because we have to hit it head on. If we don't hit it head on, you'll never figure it out. We got to address it. In Deuteronomy chapter 32, find something tucked away in verse 21. This is where our issue is. It says, they have moved me to jealousy. This is what we done. Why? We sit there and we'll worship every other thing in the world but God. This is what we do. We'll worship anything other than God. And he's telling you, he already told us in Exodus, he's a jealous God. But we just sat there and did everything. So he says, they have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. Even people. Excuse me. Through calamity or trinity, they had done it, and they moved him and provoked him to jealousy. So once they provoked him, and they provoked him even to anger, he said, they have provoked me to anger with their vanities. Exactly. And he said, and I will move them. So now he's telling you, you doing me, let me do you. I'm going to make sure you can see what I'm doing. I'm not going to do it behind your back. I'm going to do it in front of you. I'm not going to do it behind your back. I'm going to do it so you can see me doing it. I don't care where you go in the world. I'm going to make sure you see it in your face. I want to make sure they treat you a certain way, because I told you, if you go there, this is how they're going to treat you. I told you this in Deuteronomy. So he's telling you right up front. So I'm going to move you to jealousy with those which are not a people. I'm going to move you to jealousy with those people. Those people I just showed you. I'm going to move you to jealousy with them. Everybody know they're not the people. They know they're not the people. But he said, I'm going to move you to jealousy. Wait a minute, you putting up a false God. Wait a minute, why I can't put up a false people? I'm telling you, we can't get out our own way. If we sit there and put up false gods, why in the world he can't put up a false people? Can anyone answer that? Oh no, we gonna make false gods, but guess what? He can't put up no false people. Really? Who in the land? Who in the land? You in the land? You have a bunch of us going over there telling some people who in the land, this my land. Okay, show me the deed. Show me the deed. I don't have the deed. I'm an Israelite. Oh, really? Really? Hey, man. we got little Buffy over here talking about. You want to tell you what? Put him out. Put him out the land. He said, "You do me, I'm gonna show you what this like. I'm gonna show you how this feel." So now we all got issues. We going around with all kinds of issues. And then we done provoked him to anger. And he said, see, the main thing what we got a problem with, when he do something, he don't change. The only way we get back into that land, guess what? Death of this flesh. That's what you ain't going over there no time soon. You might well throw that out your head. Actually, I want to show you something. It had Jeremiah so upset. I'm going to tell you something with Jeremiah. Jeremiah is actually a crack up. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 14. He quoted this once before. Because he's in there, he was saying it's problem. Jeremiah said this in chapter 2, verse 14. He said, "Is Israel a servant? Lord, is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Or are we bred to be slaves?" Why is he spoiled? I don't care where I go, we spoiled. Go get that little God over there. Didn't you make a God yesterday? Didn't you create a God? Go tell him to get you out. Go tell him to get you out. Go tell him to get you out of trouble. Actually, let me show you something. I want to show you something. Make sure all this is all together. Psalms chapter 89 and verse 34. To show you where he ain't changing. He ain't changing you. He ain't switching you out. Not with those people. He said they're not even the people. But you want to bring somebody to jealousy? Watch what I'm gonna do to you. Watch how you come out. He says this in Psalms 89 verse 34. He says, "My covenant will I not break, nor alter the thing that is going out of my lips." But guess what? I can get you mad. I can bring you to anger. I can make you really get upset by taking you out the land. Oh, I can do this. Oh, you want to play games? Y'all playing with the wrong person. Okay, tell you a secret. Kobe passed on, but we used Kobe and Michael Jordan, and we'll use Wilt Chamberlain. How would that look? I just want to tell you, how would that look? And all of them are in their prime. All of them in their prime. And then you take Penny Hardaway, and you also take the boy who used to play with the Spurs. I can't even think of his name. Tim Duncan. You have all these boys, and you have Camilo, Anthony. These dudes are all on the team. But this is their team. Now we're gonna take me and a couple of the guys that's over here with me. We're gonna play them 5-on-5. Best to 21. I don't care. And all of them is in prime. What do you think that's gonna look like? The best of 21. Yeah, I think it's gonna be minus 21 to 21. Why? This is what they do for a living. We out there doing it for sport. God is a whole nother ball game. And we decide we want to play games with him. We're going to make us another God. How do you think that's going to look with us? This is the crazy part. But he's telling you right up front, he will not change. He's not breaking his covenant. But he said, but I tell you what, I'll move you to jealousy. I'll move you to jealousy with a people that's not my people. Well, I'll move you to jealousy. I don't have a problem doing that. But I want to show you something. Why he said this here. He said, "My covenant will I not break, nor alter that is going out of my lips." But I'm going to show you. I want to show you exactly what he said, telling you, and where he's getting at with this. We'll see this in Jeremiah chapter 33. And find something that's really clear on why he doing what he doing, and we have to deal with it. Cause why? We moved him to jealousy, so why he ain't tripping? 33, but we want verse 20. We want this here. We want this here. We're gonna kind of go down through here. And it's telling, it says, "Thus saith the Spirit of God, if ye can break my covenant of the day, including my covenant of the night," guess what? That's what they've been doing. They've been trying to do that. Where you think daylight saving times come from? Thinking they can break it. They ain't breaking it. Sun's still gonna come down and up at the same time every day. I don't care what time we change it to. That's gonna still come up at the same time every day and go down at the same day. And it says, including that there should be not be day and night in their season. See, then he throw this in there. Then he throw this in there. Actually, I want to show you something. Let's look at Genesis. Genesis chapter 1. I want to show you something. Genesis chapter 1. And we want to look at, dang it, now I want to act up. Let me see. Genesis 1. I think I can still get it there. Yep, I can get it here. Okay, so we want to look at 1:16. And then I'll move it back up. It says, "And God made two great lights. The greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also." So this is what he did. Did this plain and simple. So once he did that, oh, now it want to work. So once he did that, he's telling you right up front what he's doing. And these are appointed for what they to do. He's telling you, can you break those? You already know the answer to that. Then he's telling you right here. So you already know you can't. He says, "Then may also my covenant be broken with David, my servant." You can break that. I'm going to break that with David. You break the covenant of the sun and the moon, the light. Make the moon come out for the sun, like everybody getting the sun right now. You make the moon come out for then, and then you let the sun come out for night when it should be. And David, I'm cutting David loose. You make the sun come out at night and make the moon come out in the day. Better yet, make the moon shine brighter than the sun. Because that's technically still what he's saying. You make that shine brighter than the sun, and you make the sun be lesser light than the moon. David's gone. So it's the same thing as those guys that I showed you. He's saying the same thing. But he says, "And he should not have a son to reign upon his throne with the Levites, the priests, my ministers." He's being right up front with you. Right up front. But he gets better. He gets way better. Let's go down to verse 22. Because he's telling you what he's doing. But if you provoke him, he says, "This is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing you guys this way." It says, comparing the host of heaven cannot be numbered. You can't even number it. Neither the sand of the sea measured. No, you can't even measure that. "So will I multiply the seed of David, my servant, including the Levites that minister unto me," that are servants unto him. He's telling you right up front what he's doing. He's telling you what he's doing, and we can't do nothing about it. Technically what he's saying as a whole. What I'm doing, you can't do nothing about it. But he gets better. It gets way better. Actually, I want to take both of these. We're going to take both of those. It says, moreover, he said, wait a minute, hold it. I ain't even done talking. The word of the Spirit of God came to Jeremiah saying, wait a minute, consider something, Salah. Consider this. Thou not what this people have spoken, saying, the two families which the Spirit of God has chosen, Israel and Judah. They really won, but we acting a fool. We being like Crips and Bloods. That's what our problem is. But he's sitting there telling us right up front what he's doing. But he's letting you know right up front, these two families I have chosen. He says, he have cast them off. You see that question mark right there? Look at the question mark. Question mark right there. Have he cast them off? No, he ain't cast them off, but he got as hot as a firecracker. You got someone walking around with puffed out lips. walking around like Jonah. He says, thus they have despised my people, that they should be no more a nation before them. Exactly the point. But we're gonna dig into some of this here. We're gonna dig into some of this and find out something, because these two families is Judah, and you can see Jerusalem, but you know Jerusalem is still Israel. These are the chosen ones, but you can still remember. I don't want you to forget this what happened. We're gonna go right back over here to First Maccabees. We honing in on what he did. First Maccabees, we're gonna go down to 1. We're gonna look at verse 41 again. We're gonna go right back here to look at it again. Remember this? He changing the ordinance. He said, moreover, King Antiochus, and this is the oppressor. He said, wrote to his whole kingdom, we should become one people. But he said even more, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathens agreed to the commandments of the king. But guess what? That's why all Israel ain't Israel. Why? Yea, many also the Israelites consented to his religion, to his practice, and sanctified unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. This is what he's telling you right up front, what they did. Right up front, what they did. Because why? They agreed to this. And actually, when we get down, let's go back up to verse 28. Tell you. It's telling you. It says the land was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. We all we just in confusion. Why is this? Because this is the thing on what he did to get us to change. To get us to change up. Let's look at something. And take it a little bit closer. Let's go back up to Psalms. Let's look at Psalms 83. We're going to see something. We're going to take 3 and 4. And it says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. Exactly what they did. Why? They agreed to it. They agreed to do it. Hey, cool. If you want to run that way, we cool with it. We cool with this. And they said even more with this. And this was the purpose. They said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the way of Israel, see, you see with it, the way of Israel be no more in remembrance. No, because he wanted to get rid of that stuff. That's why he's saying. He said, everyone leave your ways and come my way. This is why he was telling us this. This is why it was running this way. In fact, when you get down to Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 25, you see even more so where he's doing it again. It says, thus said the Spirit of God, if my covenant, providing my covenant cannot be with the day and night, and provided I have not appointed the ordinances, see how you're getting back to these ordinances again, of heaven and earth. You can't do nothing about this stuff. You got a problem. You have a problem. Actually, let me go back here, because we got to go back over here back to Epiphanies, because Epiphanies he's in the middle of this stuff. We got to go back to 145, because he's in the middle of this. And I should have just left it here, because he's in the middle of this. And I got to keep going back here. Remember this? So he's telling you, we was in confusion. It says, and forbid burnt offerings. So we was forbid to do these things. Keep that in mind. We was forbidden to do those things. And it said there's drink offerings and in the temple, that they should profane the Sabbath days and the festival days. Exactly what's going on. But when you look at this and you want both of these together, I'm going to put both of these now together. And it says, then shall I cast away the seed of Jacob, including David my servant, so that I will not take any of his seed to be ruler over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will cause their captivity to return and have mercy on them. Meaning, he gonna let them be done in. He's telling you this right up front. I'm gonna let this go down. You do what you do. I'll let this go down. But can I make you mad? Oh yeah, you make us mad. Don't think he ain't laughing. Don't think he ain't laughing, because I can show you where he'll laugh at us for what we doing. Actually, still gonna go there. Still got to go there. See, because we sitting there, we crying and everything else. In Proverbs chapter 1, because saying bring it up, might as well go look at it. So he's telling us this in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 26. He says, I will also laugh at your calamity. We in calamity, he laughing at it. he gonna laugh. I will mock when your fear cometh. I'm gonna mock you. Wait a minute. You made a god. Now your God don't work. I wish Cotton was a monkey. I wish Cotton was all this kind of. Your God don't work. Now you gonna come back to him, and now you want him to do it, and now that ain't gonna work. See, this is the same thing as like I tell people. You know, you have some people that say, "Hey man, can you?" They're sending, "Hey man, can you pray for me?" This. Really? No, I don't pray for everybody. Very fine, because now you're just seeking prayers from anywhere you can get them. It don't work that way. Because then if you healed or whatever goes on, whatever God had put you through, and it happened, you're going to thank all kinds of gods. So now he just lumped in there in like a chest with a bunch of gods. So you can't do that. But he's telling you the same thing here. The same identical thing here, and forbid burnt offerings. So he forbidded these, and this is what they were doing. They was forbidding these things, though it was an impossibility for men to follow these strange laws of the land, and including they offering gifts, and then they establishing these covenant and these drink and say right there, you got these drink offering to gain knowledge. These gifts in the temple, it's in the temple. You doing these things. That they should profane these things, that you should profane the Sabbath. Not Sabbath. Oh, every one of them that comes up. In fact, it tells you this in verse 46. Including pollute the sanctuary and the separated people. Got you. This is what they're going to do with us. Because why? You want to be one people. You want to be just like them. You hear, but so, as they say, well, when I'm in Rome, I do as the Romans. Okay, go ahead in Rome, you do as the Romans. You want to do these things. Let's look at it a little bit closer. Let's go a little bit closer here. In verse 47, set up altars and groves and chapels and idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. Exactly the point of what's that going on. Because these offers, these altars, these offering tables, these groves, these gods and goddesses. That's what we do. We just set them all up. On every street corner. Including the chapels. These chapels is the statues and images. That's why you see these churches, they put them, all them edifices, all kind of ways. Intimate places. That's why them chapels are there. And it says chapel of idols. That's what it's saying. These chapel of idols. Oh yeah, this is the house of God. Really? God don't even dwell in places made with hands. No, but God is here. I know he's here. Yeah, really. Keep thinking that. And what they do, they sacrifice swine's flesh. Sacrifice. So they establish covenants with swine's flesh, with contemptible and unclean things. Swine. With contemptible and unclean things. And it says swine's flesh. So with these bodies, making these covenants with these evil beasts. It's telling you right up front what they're doing. Right up front what they're doing. And guess what? We'll still do it. We'll still hold these people at these high esteemed levels. Let's look at it a little bit more. Verse 48. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all matter of uncleanness and prolification. Really? Prolification. Excuse me. But what does it stand telling us? Verse 49. Until the end that they might forget the law and change the ordinances. I told you this is what all this is about. This is about changing ordinances. This is why your days are numbered. Because we think we're God's. In these covenants, we have to leave our children uncircumcised, meaning stay covered in sin. Uncircumcised, saying covered in sin, making these abominations in we ain't being nothing but an abomination in the eyes of God. In all manner of prolification. We just doing it. Meaning these contempt and sinful acts. We're going to continue just to do these sinful acts no matter what. Hoping at the end, he'll forget. Okay, well, there was so many of them. It was billions and billions and billions of them doing it, so I got to go on and just let them in. No, he's not. He ain't changing nothing. And you're going to change your own ordinances, those instructions, those rules. You're going to change them. He even tells you in Genesis, talking about the fruit trees were brought forth, yielding seeds after his kind, after his kind. What we do? Oh, well, we can go mess with other fruits. Now you got people calling themselves Creoles, Mexicans, mulattoes. Call yourself all kinds of things. You don't mix fruit, and then you thinking, oh, we done created a people. Well, I done created me a whole people. Really? You think you did? Okay. So you done changed the ordinances of God. Actually, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you something. Let's go here. Actually, let me go here real quick. I just want to show you something. Just show you our arrogance and our ignorance at the same time. We'll find this in Sirach, chapter 38, verse 4. This right here upsets me more than anything. It says, the Creator have created medicines out of the earth. Full thought. This is what angers me. Why? Because we even have our loved ones. They believe in this so much, in which is 100% true. But we have made sure they tainted so much stuff to where when you're trying to go right, wrong things can happen based on what your body is used to. That angers me. And it's not angering me what's in the Bible. It angers me with man. Because it's telling you the Creator created medicine out of the earth, and he that is wise will not harbor them. Meaning this, you got many people who practice medicine. They practice medicine. It's telling you they wouldn't harbor them. But when they go to school, they learn how to create drugs. Things that the body is not used to keep you going this way. But then the first thing we'll sit there and say, these men are wise. They're fools. And the same thing is, we sit there and then we make them gods. I need Dr. such and such. I need Dr. this. I need making them wise, and they're fools. In fact, you can even look at same thing. Do we eat blood of animals today? People say no. Yeah, you do. A lot of people do. I don't say all of us do, but some people do. They'll sit there and say, no, to have a perfect steak, you got to have a perfect steak. You got to have it medium well or medium. Because the flavor going to be in the blood. The experience is in the blood. And people will sit there, well, I got to eat my... Okay, then guess what? What God is saying, don't eat the blood. So if you don't eat the blood, and if you still want to eat a steak, it has to be fully cooked. Can't be no blood left in it. So if you want to eat the steak, you can eat the steak and enjoy it, but there better not be no blood in it. People, no, I got to have it medium well then. Okay, then guess what? God's still going to hold you responsible for it. Why? Because you sitting there, well, see on here, this man told me this is the best way to have it. Yeah. Why? Because you boo-boo. You boo-boo. This is what boo-boo do. These are things that boo-boo do. In fact, let's look at something. in Maccabees 150. And he holds you at that. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said, should die. First, he was just sitting there, just wanted you to do it. Now it done went into law. Because now he's saying you should die for this. And we got to see this, what it's based on. It's based on calamity and trinity. So either you're going to serve him one way or the other way. And then these things are presented to you today, even in marriages one to another. Even in marriages, based in your culture. Based on culture alone. These people, they call themselves these certain things and they do these things. And then now he's telling you right now, if you don't do according to this one law, you will die. These are kings of the world saying this. And God saying, if you do what they say and do, you're going to die. They saying, no, you're not going to. Actually, I'm going to tell you what. Besides doing that, let's go there. Let's look at this. Besides talking about it, let's look at it. And we'll go to Genesis chapter 3, but we want to look at verse 4. So God said, if we learn of this tree, we will die. And the serpent said in Genesis chapter 3, verse 4, the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. So now you ain't going to die. One saying you're going to die, the other saying, no, you ain't going to die. But I'm going to die if I do. No, you ain't going to. No, he's just talking. He's just talking. You see where we become gods. Or you understand it, how we become gods. We calling ourselves. He's telling us right up front, if you eat of this fruit tree of the garden, this one of good and evil, you are going to die. The serpent said, you ain't going to die. You ain't going to, no, you ain't dying. You ain't dying. You good. Okay, I'm good. And now you're going to be serving him through calamity or trinity. He's full of arrogance. He wrote to the whole kingdom, the letters he appointed, put overseers and all these things there, making sure you're going to follow what he got planned for you. And he won't do it in a real open way. What he going to do it in a real slick way, to where you won't see it. Through calamity or trinity. This is what he does. He's good at doing it. And then, not asking you, but he's going to go city to city, changing those ordinances of God. And if we learn from the tree of good and evil, seeking to change the ordinances, and we living by them, guess what? We are going to die. And we did that. So again, what's the focus of the teaching? The focus of the teaching is our days are numbered. Our days is 100% numbered. Now we know exactly why. Who are we being obedient to? That's the key. Who we are being obedient to. In fact, God said this in Genesis chapter 3, verse 22. He said this. You see where we're getting caught up. And the Spirit of God said, remember, the man is become comparing one of us. Oh, he's big. He's bad. He got on big britches. Tell on, Lord, I'm God. Yeah, that's what we're doing. He become one of us. He comparing himself to one of us, to know good and evil. Lest he put forth his power and take forth for the tree of life and eat and live forever. He just boo-boo. He gonna really think he gonna live forever, and he going to die. So we got to put him out the garden, because he's a fool. Let's look at something. I'm telling you, we can't get out of our own way on this stuff. Let's go to Psalms, and we're gonna look at something in Psalms. Psalms 82. Yeah, we'll sit there and look at something. Psalms 82 and verse 6. We'll look at 6 and 7 again. It says, I have said, ye are gods, and ye are the children of the Most High. But, however, you going to die like men. The reason this is a trip he doing two full stops here. He doing Most High, then he got one of the princesses. And the reason why this is a trip, he already said, you already see what JEHOVAH, what Jesus said, that ye said in your law. But I want you to see really why this is really kind of funny. And even I laughed at first, but just show you why it's kind of funny. He said, ye are gods, children of the Most High. Okay, so if he said that, he shouldn't have put in but. But shouldn't be there. That means, however, meaning that's not the truth. But it shouldn't even be there. So he caught us. But it goes back to, again, knowing the functioning of those words. Because it's saying, but ye should die like men. I can take you to the cemetery. And you can see them all. All you got to do is drive by a cemetery. And everybody out there died like men. Everybody out there, some people out there, might have thought they was gods. That's what he's saying. And this is the reason why. This is the reason why. Go back to Genesis chapter 6 and verse 5. This was our issue. It says, and God saw the wickedness of man was great in error, and every imagination of the thought of his heart was only evil continually. That's our problem. So with that problem, he had to number us. He numbered our days. So this is why these things are said. So let's understand why. We done went through this long way, and now we're getting why. And it tells us here in Genesis chapter 6, verse 3, it says, including the Spirit of God said, my spirit shall not always strive, mean fight with man. For he is also flesh, yet his days shall be 100 divided in 20 years. Yeah, so it's divided. 50 in, how do we figure this out? So it's in 20 years. So, tell you a little secret. And since my wife is in here with me, tell her, because I know she knows it, because she actually used to quote it a lot. So it's telling you, you're going to have 70, right? That's what it says. So if you divide 100, that's 50. In 20 years. You add 50 to the 20, that's 70. Just a little secret. Just a little secret. That's all. Just a little secret, just to let you know something. So that's why we're having this. But the main thing is you want to understand what's going on. So let's look at all this together. Let's go back over here to Job. Get some understanding with Job. In Job chapter 14, and picking it up at verse 5. In verse 5, it's telling us, it's saying, seeing the days are determined by the number of months. Remember, we were just here. We were just here earlier. The months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. We cannot surpass these. Meaning these moons, these new moons, these covenants, we cannot go past that. So it's telling us right up front what we're doing. And as we're doing this, let's pull in a couple of things here. We're going to go back to Sirach and look at a few things here and get those down. In Sirach chapter 18, verse 9, it's telling us this. It says, the number of man's days at the Most High are 100 years. They're divided. They're divided. Everybody with me on that? See, most people think that there is guaranteed to, oh, I'm going to live 100 years. No, they're divided. So with this, we want to understand what's going on. In living according to the flesh, many people reach that 50-year mark. Many people. I've been granted to live, I'm 60. I've been granted that. And everything past 50 is good. Because he's granted you this divided time, this divided year. So it's good. But I want to show you something, because we've been living according to the flesh. And we're going to find this also in Sirach. We're going to look at this in Sirach chapter 37. And we're going to go down to 2 verses. I want to make sure we clearly get this. We're going to look at 25 and 26. The reason why we need to know this is why here. It says, the days of the man may be numbered. See, they numbered. Because some people say, I lived 50 years, or he lived to 50 years, he lived to 20 years, he lived to 80 years, he lived to 100 years, he lived to 80 years, he lived to 90 years. They can be numbered. They may be numbered. We don't know what they are, because he don't tell us. But it's telling us something with a colon there. It says, but the days of Israel are innumerable. So it's telling us a secret. If you're going to live according to the flesh, your days are numbered. And many of us, no matter what, we still are going to live by that alone. No matter, even after this teaching, they still going to live by that. And they are going to die because it's numbered. So then when he resurrects you again, he's going to open up the book. Don't see you there. He's going to open up the books, and he's going to find you there. So it's telling you, but Israel is innumerable. Verse 26, it says, the wise man shall inherit glory among his people, including his way shall be perpetual. It's talking about Israel. Being a servant to God. That's what you're looking for. So keep this in mind as we finishing up this here. And I'm going to show you something a little bit more closer. In Ecclesiastes, excuse me, chapter 3, it tells us. We're just going to read through this real. I might give some understanding on some of it. But it's telling us this for something for each and every one of us to think about and keep in mind all times. It says, to everything there's a season, and a time to every purpose. To every purpose under the heaven. So it's on earth. I want you to keep this in mind. Hold on to this. And the point is what he's wanted to get into. It's a time. So it's numbered. It's a time. It's numbered. A time to be born and a time to die. So with these seasons, we got to understand what seasons are. Seasons is appointed times, length, past, present, and afterwards. That's what we got to keep in mind. So when we're looking at these seasons, we understand that. Appointed times, length, past, present, afterwards. We got that clear. And there's a season, a time to be begotten and bearing, and a time to die. It's a time to perish. So we're going to live. But we also going, these bodies that we're in, they are going to perish. They're going to die. They're going to perish. Just like a flower. You go out sometime, look at a flower. You might take a look at a flower that might be in your yard. Just look at it when it's first blooming out. Watch it. And just watch it and watch it and watch it. And you're going to see over time it is going to die. It's the same thing going on with these bodies. Because there is a season for that. Time to be born, time to die. Time to plant, time to be plucked up, that which is planted. Right up front. In fact, he goes on more and he lets us know a little bit more. Time to kill, a time to heal. Time to break down, a time to build up. What is he saying in this? So it's a time to destroy and it's a time to heal, meaning this, within that time, within the body, it's a time to break down the flesh, but to be built up in spirit. It's a time for that. In fact, he gets in a little bit more in verse 4. Verse 4 tells us, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. Interesting. This is interesting. This time to weep and time to laugh, time to do all these things. A time to laugh. These are all mourning. And the time to mourn is the limit. So if you're going to lament, but then it's the time also to celebrate. Because you're going to mourn, but then you're going to celebrate. Meaning the same thing you got to look at. Many of us is once we die in the flesh, we're going to be celebrating once we enter into that kingdom. Keep those things in mind. Let's move on here. Let's get some things here. A time to cast away stones. And keep the stones and keep this under there. And remember, stones is a beliefs. So it's saying stones. It's plural. So it's a time to cast away beliefs. Many of us have beliefs, and many of us got into other doctrines, other religions. And this is not a religion. But it's a time to cast away these beliefs. And then it says, including a time to gather stones together. It's time to gather beliefs together. Once you can cast away all these things that it has built up to that thus far, we have to be able to get rid of old beliefs and gather new beliefs on what we see. Gather new beliefs on what we see in the Bible. Gather the new beliefs on what he's actually saying. He's telling us this right here. In fact, he goes on more. Telling us again. It's a time to get and a time to lose. That's serious. But the main thing is, I want to tell you what? I need to explain something. A time to get and a time to lose. Okay. Lose, we know, is perish. But most people think even like with this one word, get. Just the reason why, because then I can probably lose people later. So I want to make sure we clear it there also. So when it's telling you it's a time to get, a time to get. Understand what GET, meaning is a time to gain or a time to obtain. Just think about it. You have to see it that way. We have to remember these words is functioning. They're moving behind the scenes. It's undercurrents there that we need to know what they mean. So it's a time to gain, it's a time to obtain, it's a time to lose, so it's a time to perish. But watch what happens here when you look at verse 7, why that's going to make so much sense now once you understand what those words is functioning as. Let me put this here. It says it's time to rent, a time to rent, a time to sow. So you see how interesting he has gotten. So the rent is the time to separate. Then it's the time to sow. It's time to men enjoy. So the same thing, he's been saying the same thing. It's a time to gain, to obtain is a time to perish. The same way it's a time to separate and it's a time to join. He's telling you right there. So he's saying, even though he's saying a lot of different things, he's saying actually the same identical thing. He's just telling you in different ways. He's telling you in different synonyms to tell you what he means. Watch what he says here. Watch what goes on here, because he's going to say something really, really cool here. And we're going to sit there. Actually, I want verse 7, because I didn't finish out 7. Let me do 7. He says a time to keep silent and a time to speak. So silent, I want to make sure we all get this all together. So there's time to keep silent, to be as dumb. Be as dumb. Because you be as dumb, you ain't going to say anything. And then it's a time to speak, to where you can express, interpret, even teach. That's what he's telling us right up here. Now we'll go down to verse 8. Now he says more. He says a time to love, a time to promise, a time to hate, a time to war, a time for peace. So we got to promise one thing, but this is all there. And watch what he asked this question. After all that, he asked the question, what profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboreth? So what's your profit? If you're doing it in the flesh, what is your profit? If you're doing it in spirit, what is your profit? One of those is numbered. One is numbered, one is not. So this is what you have to think about. I don't care how we look at this. If you listening to me right now, you have to make that choice. What profit have you worketh in that wherein he laboreth? If you laboring according to the flesh, then that's what you're doing. Those are numbered. If you're working towards the spirit, then those is innumerable. Which one are you doing? I can't speak for you because I don't know. You can only speak for you. You can only speak for you. Let's go down a little bit more. Went down to the wrong side. It says, I have seen the travail which God has given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. Dang. You see what he's saying? So he's giving this to us, and this is a gift to the sons of men. To where we can experience these things, to where we can exercise, we can practice in this, we can do these things. This is what this is for. Let's go down a little bit more. And I just want to make sure we understand why we're limited. And it says, he had made everything beautiful in his time. Also, he that set the world in their hearts, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. So that's why people say, when the end going to come? I don't know. I don't know. It's in his own power. Because we don't know. But you'll see people always tell you they know. This world going to end at this time. That's telling you about a fool. But people listen to these people. No man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. We don't know what the end is. I can't tell you when the day is. Don't know. But he's telling us that right here, and he's telling you even more so here. He says, I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice. Rejoice, because every day that you live here, you're closer to death. But the closer you be to death, perfect it. Perfect living according to Christ. Perfect living according to Israel, being Jehovah's servant. Live perfecting that. Live and sit there and meditate. What would I do? How can I sit there and please God this morning throughout the day? Not sitting there, well, how you doing? Blessed and highly favored. That's the stupidest thing to say. Learn how to please God. See, I'm going to learn this verse. I need to learn what this verse actually means. What is God saying here? You can even say that, God, you talking Chinese here. God, I need to understand this. I need to meditate on it, understand it. Show me what I need to know. If not, make one of them elders or make one of them deacons or make that evangelist, make them jokers break that. You send a petition over and make sure they break that down. I guarantee you, he'll answer. Because you don't want to do nothing but know him. If he going to put it on one of our hearts, and we going to sit there like, I need to teach this. And they're going to end up teaching it. And give you clarity. This is what's going to happen for you. And you can rejoice because now you're going to get more comfortable. And when that time comes, you're cool with it. You want to stay alive, yeah, everybody do. But you know it's all going to come to an end. Verse 13, it says, and also to every man should eat, to eat and drink, to eat and drink. You see how he's telling you this? And enjoy the good of his labor. It is the gift of God. Why is he saying that way? I want to show you why. Because we should eat, we should learn and drink and understand doctrine. Because the drink is also understand. So we're going to understand doctrine to where we can enjoy his labor and mean the gift, the spirit of God. Because that's all that's telling you right there. It is the gift of God. It is the spirit of God because that's what he gave you. That gift is that spirit. telling you right up front, all right here in front of us. Let's go down a little bit more. I know that whatsoever God doeth, that's the problem, what I talk about with people. I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. Yes. That's why you don't want God to take care of something to punish you in a certain way, because it's forever. Nothing can be put in it, nor nothing be taken from it. And God doeth it that the man should fear in the presence of him, is what that before is. That's why I'm just reading it what it's saying spiritually, but it's just telling you. So we should desire in the presence of him. That's what he's telling us. It is forever. That's our problem. So as we sit there and we see these things, we understand what's going on. And that's why we want to make sure. So the main thing is this. And with these last couple, I want to make sure you remember this and never forget it. In Genesis chapter 49, we're going to pick it up at verse 2. And remember, the days of Israel is perpetual. The days of man, which is the sons of Jacob, is numbered. So remember this. He says, gather yourselves together, in ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel, your father. So we want to understand that. So you gather yourselves together and hear the days of life numbered of men. It's what he's telling you when he's talking about the Jacob. Ye sons of Jacob. So he's saying, in here, right here, it says, in here, ye, don't even get to ye sons of Jacob. Just say, gather yourselves together and hear. Once you hear the days, including the life numbered of men, ye sons of Jacob. That's how this actually is seen. This is how this is actually seen. But it gets it better. And it says, and hearken he unto Israel. Hearken unto Israel. For the days of Israel are innumerable, perpetual of your father. That's what it says. Making sure we're clear. And when you go up, that's why sometimes you ever see me, I read from the bottom and go up. Because you can get a lot more clarity many times when you do it this way anyway. And it says, and Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together that I may tell you that which shall befall you, which these things you're going to encounter in your last days. We in them. We in them. We are in these last days. And these days is, we got to follow. And some of us are going to follow the ways of flesh, which is numbered. Some of us are going to follow the ways of Christ. So, as we continue to learn, and we're getting ready the next week to go into the church of Pergamos, this here, we got to know what we're dealing with, because it gets extremely sharp, like a two-edged sword. And it's going to become very important that we make sure that we follow what we need to do. So hopefully, thus far, as I was saying before, excuse me, that each and every person understood what went on. And I still need to make sure that announcement goes out. 1 second. So the same thing is like I said before, we will be doing a baptism in Savannah, starting on the 8th and the 9th. So make sure that if you looking to be baptized there, make sure you send an email to that, what you see right there, and say for Savannah baptism in the subject heading. And make sure we get that in time, because if people show up there and we don't know who you are, you have a 100% chance that you're not going to be baptized. We need to know who you are and who we're dealing with. But if you already made plans, just make sure your plans are not with the hotel reservation, because we're going to be taking care of that, where we're having some discount discounted rooms and everything for that. But if you already made plans with your plane, train, car, or bus, however you come in, that's fine. We're cool with that. The only thing is we don't want you to make a room reservation because we actually in negotiation to get you better rates. So that's the only thing that we're asking. So other than that, because if you already make a room reservation, if you're coming over where everything's going to be held, it's going to be harder for you to be baptized because they're going to be checking to make sure that you still belong to that same hotel. So please make sure that you follow that to where we can go through together. And with that, we will be picking up on this coming week where we'll be doing other teachings that's moving forward. And as I said, we're going to be moving over next week to where we're going to be going through Pergamus. But then also we're going to be dealing with some other more touchy subjects because we do have other ones we have to deal with as we keep moving forward. So with that, I hope that each and every person was clearly edified based on why we're numbered, based on why he was moved to jealousy, based on why we sit there and we believe we can become our own gods and we can't. So hopefully with that, we continue to learn, we continue to move forward. We continue to know next time that in the future that we need to just be servants to God and not trying to be gods of ourselves. So with that, I say to each and every person, until next time, I say shalom.
It's a little bit crazy. You're suddenly blurry now. I wonder if anything was real. All our history's hazy, like driving in the pouring rain. Are we in too deep to heal? That you're sorry, we'll make up tomorrow. Tell me everything you know I wanna hear. I'm trying to be open, but that window is closing. And either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here.
There's something left to hold on to. We can work it through, you don't have to go. There's a future here with me. We'll find the light in a clouded room. Not giving up until you know.
That you're sorry, we'll make up tomorrow. Tell me everything you know I wanna hear. I'm trying to be open, but that window is closed.